Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Master Phil in your corner with your host, Master Phil.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to Master Phil in Your Corner podcast. And I'm here, as always, with my trusty sidekick, Dougie Fresh Friedman, in the Undefeated Media Studios in lovely Wyckoff, New Jersey. Now, I believe this is episode number 64.
Sounds about right.
Wow. Well, today, yeah, crazy. Today's topic, we're going to talk about getting into the zone.
Nice.
Yeah, not the auto zone. I think it's kind of easy to get into. You just walk through the door. But we're going to talk about how to get mentally into the zone, whether it's for a competition, whether it's for a project you have to do at work, a performance of some sort, a presentation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's how to get into the zone. And we have a very special guest on today. He's going to do a little. Well, he's going to expand on his background here, but I just want to give a little preface on how we got to know our guest. This is in the state semifinals, New Jersey State semifinals in wrestling in 1977 in the 122-pound weight class. This is still touted as the best high school match ever.
Wow.
Ever in history. Okay.
Wow.
And he also happened to be on the best high school wrestling team ever. And
Wow.
It's incredible. Without any further ado, I'd like to bring my good friend on here, Mr. Tom Husted. Tommy, great to see you.
Hi, Phil. Yeah, good to see you.
Now, this is pretty cool because Tom is now in Thailand.
Nice.
So, I mean, he's had quite an incredible journey, getting to where he is. You know, it all started with high school wrestling, incredible achievements there, and then went on to Wisconsin and Lehigh, and then moved forward from there. Was involved in a couple different businesses. I remember you driving in your Chevette with the Herbalife on the back. And, so
Right.
I believe that's where we first met. But Tom, just tell us how you got to where you are. I mean, you've been in Thailand for how long now?
12 years.
12 years now. Yeah. So let's
Can you hear me?
let's tell the
Yeah,
audience a little
yeah.
bit of your background. Yeah. So I think we have a bit of a lag because we are.
Oh, how far back
He's in
to
Thailand.
go?
He's in Thailand. Hmm.
Oh, let me
Oh,
see.
boy.
Wait. Shoot.
Okay, I can hear you. We can't see you now, but we were able to hear you.
Okay. Is it good now?
Yes, perfect. Run with it.
Okay. How far do you want me to go back?
Let's go back to
My background.
college because you had some interesting turn of events in college and how it started to develop your mindset.
Yeah. Well, I went to Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin originally. Then I went to Lehigh. So I ended up wrestling my last 2 years there and was an Eastern National champ there twice. And actually, that match you talked about, Daryl Burley ended up being my teammate. So we were teammates together there at Lehigh. And actually, we both won Eastern National titles in the same gym we had wrestled in 4 years previous at the 1977 state championship.
That's pretty crazy.
And as far as that match is concerned, with Daryl, he was an unknown at the time, and I definitely underestimated him. We were both undefeated, but nobody knew much about him. So it was quite a shock. I didn't think it was going to be such a difficult match, and it went back and forth, and I ended up winning 6-5 in overtime. But then, Daryl went from, being someone nobody really knew much about, and within 2 years, he won the NCAA championship as a freshman, beating a senior defending national champ. So I don't think there was anybody who skyrocketed so quickly from, like, nobody knew anything about him, and then 2 years later he's winning the NCAAs as a freshman. But he kind of got on the map, or, you know, noticed from that semifinal match with me, because he was definitely an underdog, and you know, he took to my limit. It was the only close match I had in 2 years. So
you were very.
And then that year also, you know, those 2 years I didn't have a close match. But, you know, there's a lot of pressure on me because, you know, I was the defending state champ, undefeated, had been the MVP the year before. And when you're at the top of the mountain, there's nowhere to go but down, and there's, you know, pressure. While the year before, I was actually state because they're defending state champions in the weight class and one runner-up. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the focus of this talk is about the zone.
Yes.
The focus of the talk is the zone. And that year, my junior year, I was definitely in the zone. I didn't even know it was called the zone. But I was definitely in it, especially at the States. And the way I don't even know if they had that expression back then, back in 1976, that was the zone. But I got into it. I don't, you know, it kind of just happened. And especially in the finals, I really felt like I was in the zone. When you're really in the zone and you're out there, you know, being an athlete or any type of performer, it's like things are kind of like in slow motion, and you're just totally present to what's happening in that moment. You're not even thinking about the past or future, or even really about winning or losing. And I remember in that match, when there was about 20 seconds left, I wasn't even sure what the score was. I knew I was winning, and I looked over at the clock, and I think it was like the score was 18-10. And I was surprised. I didn't know it was ahead that much, you know.
Yes. You know, it's funny that you talk about being in the zone, and that, you know, you didn't even know what it was, and nobody knew who Darryl Burley was. I mean, if you look at it, you know, things are so much different now. There's so much information out there that's readily available for people. Like, you know, we have the internet. You know, we have television, right, sports, every channel. I mean, you know, we used to have to wait for ABC Wide World of Sports every Sunday, whereas now you can't get away from some type of sports, you know, some type of mental training, or, you know, whatever it might be. So now, when you were in the zone that you didn't know where you were at the time, you know, now did you do anything to get into that zone, or did it happen organically, or was there any process that you employed?
Consciously, on a conscious level, there really wasn't. I was just really focused in the one thing I remember now, this may have been part of it. It completely slipped my mind. That year, my junior year, for some reason, Bucky Rehane, my coach, brought in one of his relatives, and once a week he did like yoga and meditation with us. And, you know, we were like, what the hell is this? You know, a bunch of wrestlers, yoga and meditation back in '76. What's this about? Yeah. And most of the guys made fun of it, but I actually got really into it. And I think that may have been a factor in helping me to get into the zone, because it was the first time I was exposed to that. And it was just like really being present and just focused and tuning out all the, you know, when I went out there in the mat, I didn't even know there were thousands of people there in Princeton Gym. I was just totally focused, you know, in the moment. I mean, being in the zone is just what they call being in the present moment. And now they can train people to that. I think that's what a lot of the sports psychologists are doing with these athletes. And you have a lot of athletes like, let's say, Michael Jordan. He'll talk about it. He'll say, yeah, I feel like everything's slow motion, and I'm just totally focused on what I'm doing. And so they talk about it now openly, and they call it the zone. But the zone can extend to any area of your life, because what happens to a lot of people, like very successful actors or even athletes or musicians, they're totally in the zone when they're performing. But when they get off stage or off the field, they're out of the zone. And some of them have some pretty screwed up lives because of that. I'm not saying most of them don't, but some of them do. They may get involved with drugs or whatever because they don't know how to bring that zone into their everyday life. They can do it when they're on the stage, when they're performing and all that. So the real thing is how not only to get into the zone, but just not when you're quote unquote performing, but in your everyday life, when you're washing dishes or whatever you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gotten more into, in the last number of years, meditation. And meditation is basically training your consciousness, your mind to be in the present moment, but then to do that not just when you're meditating, but in all aspects of your life. So that's the real thing about bring it into everything you do in life. Bring it into when you're being, with your wife, when you're with your kids, or just walking the dog. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's more like the zone is what you're being. You're being in the present moment. And people like, Eckhart Tolle have made it big now with the power of now, and mindful meditation has become almost mainstream now. So, so it's not just when you're performing. It can be in all aspects of your life, ideally, if you can do it. And like I said, in the past, there was a lot of people, I don't think it's as much now, but in the past, you see these people upstage who are like, whoa, amazing, or in the field. But then when they weren't performing, it was almost like another person. They weren't able to bring that into their everyday life. I think now people more and more are doing that. But in the past, you would see, like, for example, I knew this guy. I don't know why he was able to get a backstage pass before Michael Jackson was going to perform. This was a long time ago. And he said when he went backstage and met Michael Jackson, he was like a wallflower. He wouldn't even make eye contact. He was like super shy, super introverted. And he was thinking, like, how's this guy going to go on the stage and perform? But when he saw him on stage, he was like, this is a different person. Who is this? But he was in the zone. Michael Jackson was in the zone when he was performing on stage. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to bring that so much into his everyday life. So that's the real challenge, to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're talking to all this stuff, I'm thinking of a light switch. Because I know when I used to compete, especially when I was in the fighting arts, I could be pretty relaxed before I went into the ring, and then flip the switch on and become super aggressive. Now, when you see that with, I'm thinking about even like the flip side of this coin. Okay, you have a football player, for example, middle linebacker, whatever, super aggressive, animal on the field, but then when that's where you don't want that type of aggression outside of the gridiron, right? You want to keep that on the field. You don't want to bring it into everyday life. And that's where sometimes these guys get in trouble because they can't switch. They wind up flipping the switch in the wrong circumstances. So there's a whole bunch of things here because you're talking about being in the zone. Now, taking all the positive things about being in the zone, being focused, because we see people who are incredible performers, whether it be in an athletic event, a stage performance, or even performance in the corporate world, but then they have a failure, or even academic, and then they have a failure to translate it to everyday life, where they can take those positive attributes, the constructs, and apply it to their normal life. And they fail. They miss that connection. Now, we also have on the other side is some people who need to turn it on in these certain areas, yet they can't turn it off, or they turn it on when they shouldn't turn it on. So they're in the wrong zone then.
Yeah, I mean it's actually they put people up to these machines and they're able to measure the brain waves. There's different alpha and delta and different brain waves. So when you're in a zone, it's a certain brain wave, and same thing with meditation. So if people are able to more consciously train themselves to get into that brain wave type of, I forget which one it is, which would be the zone. I don't know if it's delta, alpha, whatever. But there's a certain, like you could say, frequency, and people are able to train themselves to do that, and then they can bring that into everyday life. Yeah, I mean, as far as being, I mean, if you're being in the zone is being in the present moment. So if you're in the present moment, you're out in the football field, okay, you need to be aggressive or whatever. you're off the field. You're in the present moment. You don't need to be tackling people or whatever. This is a totally different situation. But the thing is, there's also an aspect of unresolved issues. Some of these people may have some real trauma from the childhood. It's unresolved, and it acts itself out through addiction or physical or some type of abuse or even crime. So there's a whole another aspect of some dealing with unresolved trauma, which is kind of separate from the zone, and that's another issue. Because if somebody is
we may have to have you repeat that. We may have to have you repeat that because you're making a great point. I don't know if anyone can hear it. Yeah, you went out a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So if somebody on the field if somebody is off the football field and they're getting into crime or whatever, they obviously have some unresolved trauma they need to deal with. So that's a deeper issue than being in the zone. They need help. They need help. And, there's football players who've talked about that, or athletes, and they've gotten help, and they've been able to heal that. So, because there are people who are great athletes, great actors, or whatever, great at whatever they do, but, they may have had a very traumatic childhood, and that hasn't healed. And then it comes out through addiction or abuse or whatever. So that's almost a separate issue. Because even if you're not in the zone when you're off the field or whatever, you still shouldn't be, getting violent or doing criminal activity. That's, you know what I'm trying to say? So that's some psychological and emotional issues that need to be dealt with. And but the thing is, I find also, through meditation and being in the zone, being in the present moment, that also helps me to deal with issues from the past, because they will come up in the present moment, and then you're able to deal with them and not just react and act them out unconsciously.
Now, do you when these issues come up, do you pull back and kind of see yourself, like, make like a 30,000-foot view or something, like almost like you're hovering above yourself, seeing yourself in these situations when you're in that state of consciousness? Or is it something that you're doing more on like an involved level like that, or is it like I said, like almost like another person where you're looking at that person in the situation and then seeing what you should do or shouldn't do?
No, I mean, if you're really in the zone in the present moment, you're really in your physical body. You're really present to what you're experiencing, feeling in your body, mentally, emotionally, whatever. But the key is you're not reacting to it. You're not acting it out. You're feeling and experiencing it fully, but you're just being with it. And you're not getting reactive or repressing it or projecting it or going and getting drunk or doing drugs or whatever. You're just being with it. And everything passes. Everything comes and goes. It will come and it will go. Like, for example, when I was younger, I used to have real big anger issues, especially before I got into wrestling. And it's been an issue for me I've had to deal with most of my life. And now, if I get angry, it comes and goes very quickly. I'll get angry, it's there, it's gone. It doesn't last very long. And I don't need to do anything with it, unless, of course, it's necessary for me to do something, but otherwise, but not react is a difference, So, it's just being with what is, accepting and being with it is, and it will pass, and not resisting it. The expression, what you resist persists. So if we don't resist it and we allow it to come, it's going to go sooner or later. And I find now it goes very quickly, It's just like I'll feel it, and it's gone within 5 minutes,
Yeah, because we're not zombies. We're going to feel. We're going to feel.
Zone, I think. Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. You don't want to repress. If you repress your emotions, especially anger or strong emotions, it can lead to physical illness and psychological illness. It can really.
It's going to come out somewhere. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you: do you ever have any? Did you ever do any work with? Did you ever do any work with Dr. Gilbert over at Montclair State for sports psychology?
No, I've never worked with a sports psychologist, actually.
Right, yeah. I just wondered because Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because actually I'm working with the doing presentations for the guys over at the Winning Mindset, which started as the Wrestling Mindset. So actually, I have a
Oh yes,
presentation
right,
tonight.
right.
Yeah, I'm working with those guys, the
Good. Yeah.
Zanetti brothers. Yeah, it's great. I'm having so much fun doing it, Tom. I'll tell you, it's just an incredible opportunity. So if anybody's interested in that, they're also one of our sponsors here. So just contact me.
And I believe too, like we just can't just deal with the physical body. We're like the body, mind, emotions, and I also believe in the spirit. If you call it energy or whatever, or chi or
Right.
ki or whatever, you have to work with all that together, not just one or the other. So I think a complete person, a complete athlete or whatever, works with the body, the mind, the emotions, and the spirits or soul, or you could call it just energy, because we're made up of all that.
It's really funny. Remember? This was last week or the week before. We had one of the guys, one of the Zanetti brothers on. Gene was on, and we were talking about that. He said, one thing I love about my philosophy is that I do the mind, the body, and the spirit. I incorporate all of these things in,
Right.
and when you're, if you look at two people, you look at two people physically. Maybe they had the same training, maybe they had the same innate athletic ability, but you say, well, what makes this person better than the other one? What makes this person Tom Brady and this other one, I don't know, who's Colin Kaepernick?
I like your choices.
What's the difference? I mean, you look at them physically, you say, gosh, this one guy, he's far superior. But then you look at the actual performance and you look at the output and you say, wow, Brady is incomparable.
Right.
To me, that has a lot to do with the fact that his mind, body, and spirit are in sync with each
Right.
other.
Right.
And his ability to tap
Absolutely.
on that, tap on his ability to be in the zone and be present at that time and taking everything in is incredible.
And even maybe kick it up a notch when the time is needed. During
Right.
crunch time, you could have a bad game, but then the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left in the game, totally switch it on and be a
Right.
crazy level.
Yeah. So that's like a clutch
People
performance.
like that, when they're under pressure like that, people like that, when they're under pressure, they go even more into the zone. They don't
Yeah.
like freak out. They get
Yeah.
even more present, even more in the zone.
That's like winning in overtime in wrestling, right? It'd be that you have to be, because look, both people are tired. Let's face it, especially if you're in a tournament, you've wrestled match after match after match, and the only thing you're going on there is
Zone.
your zone,
Zone.
your spirit, your determination. Now,
Right.
I know I would assume that you're familiar with the book called The Book of Five Rings by Miyato Musashi. Yes?
No, I'm not actually. I
Really?
don't know about it.
Oh, wow. You have to read this book. I've read
Yeah,
it
I don't know.
several times. And the good thing
Okay,
is, for
check it
anybody
out.
out there, it's a very
Okay.
short read. But Miyato Musashi, this was written in like 1360 something. He was a samurai warrior. And,
Okay.
you want to talk about being in the zone. Okay. You have to be completely in the zone at all times, or your head will be removed from your body.
Right. Right.
He was victorious in 60 battles. And then, he went up on a mountain and just made bonsai trees after that. So, but, one of the things is that, you have to learn how to deal with adversity when the chips are against you. Like I just did a presentation on how to deal with adversity on the wrestling mat a couple of weeks ago at one of these wrestling clubs. But let's say you're Miyato Musashi, right? He had one instance sticks out in my mind. He was having a duel with this other warrior, and they had to, you choose where you want to face. And so the other guy said, well, I want to face here with the sun at my back. So Miyato had to have the sun in his face. But what did he do? He used that to his advantage. He took his sword, tilted it So the sun caught his sword, reflected it right into the guy's eyes, temporarily blinded him, and then removed his head. Uh, so he took a bad situation and made it
Okay.
good, and that's simply by being in the
Yeah.
zone. And I'm sure he didn't know what the zone was then, just like you didn't know what the zone was when you were winning championships on the mat. You just kind of got into it. So now, do you, the what reason I'm bringing this up is I don't think that Miato definitely knew exactly what he was doing, but he knew he had to do something to win or perish. Certainly, his stakes are pretty darn high. Uh, but he talks about his training and your training that you did in preparation for your wrestling. You trained yourself at such a level that maybe it was to the point where you were so confident that you knew you'd be prepared for anything that was thrown at you. Is that part of the mindset that you used, or part of the mindset that you
Well,
wound up developing because of training methodology?
well, it's interesting because I actually was, it's changed over the years. I actually was, kind of shy, introverted person. So it was actually kind of difficult for me to go out in front of thousands of people. But I was so focused, I tuned that all out. And I developed confidence over time because I wasn't really naturally a confident person. I had insecurities and different things. So I think in some ways I probably overtrained quite often because, maybe because I wasn't so confident. I wasn't like, let's say, Gene Mills, that guy totally believes himself. He just has natural confidence and he's so naturally gifted. There's certain athletes who just have that gift. For me, I didn't have it. I had to develop it over time and through, I think that may have been a weakness for me. I think if I had more confidence, that would have been I would have done better. I think I did sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Or if you had giant arms like
yeah,
Gene, and he could half anyone from anywhere. People who
right,
don't
right.
know, Gene Mills can
Yeah,
throw a half from
yeah. He was
anywhere.
very, very gifted. I mean, I know Gene. We were on teams together. We
Mhm.
competed. I know Gene pretty well over the years. So yeah, he was incredibly, incredible. He, talk about mental toughness. He's one of the as most mentally tough wrestler of all time, probably. He could lose a match, walk off the mat, and he'd be totally confident that he'd beat that guy the next time. You know what I mean? It's like it
Yeah.
didn't phase him. He just had that real strong confidence and belief in himself. I think he was just born with that. Others have to develop it over time.
Right.
Yeah. But still, to go out just to walk out on the mat and do it, it takes a lot. It's a one-on-one sport, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to have, a certain amount of confidence to do that. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. And in my estimation, that's why to me wrestling is the toughest high school sport there is, because all the different facets of it in order to be successful. Um, you know, just get rid of the don't even, not even bringing the weight control aspect into it, but just the
Yeah. Right.
the training regimen, the mental aspect of being there by yourself, out on the mat, putting it all together. You have to be strong. You have to be conditioned. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to have incredible body awareness. I mean, there's so many different factors involved in being successful on the mat. You know.
Well, what's also nice about wrestling and boxing.
Ooh, yeah, we lost you a bit.
I was small, so you had weight classes, so everybody can fit. Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Here.
Yes.
What's
yes.
nice about wrestling, wrestling fits all sizes. It's not like basketball. You better be at least 6 feet or whatever tall, and football big. But at least wrestling, you can be you can be huge and small and everything in between. So, for me, I wasn't big enough for basketball or football, anything like that. So I was able to wrestle.
It's great. It's great for people of all sizes to be able to compete somewhere and have a venue to develop all the things that make sports so beneficial to people. But
Yeah.
let's see. So Tom, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? As far as I know we all know. Well, we know people who know you have a beautiful little girl, beautiful wife. And what are you doing? Are you doing anything like what are you doing work wise, or what are we doing now?
Well, I'm retired. I retired. It was about, what, right before my daughter was born. I retired. So that's been over 2 years
Yeah.
ago. And I've just made some fortunate investments. So I'm just, I don't have to worry about money because of the investment. So I'm not working for money anymore.
Right.
So that part of my life is taken care of. I don't have to be concerned about that. So I'm more focused, of course, on my family and my combination. I'm focused on of course, my daughter and my wife, and then my inner life. I do a lot of inner work, you could say,
Yeah.
meditation, prayer, and I've really gotten into the, you could call it the spiritual journey, the journey within, and so that's been quite a big journey and exploration for me for over 30 years.
Wow.
And now I'm able to focus on that quite a bit. And of course, I exercise every day. I do yoga and meditate, and I stay informed on what's going on in the world. I don't just isolate myself and not know what's happening.
Oh yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
I don't stay ignorant of what's happening in the world. But at the same time, I also do not try to get too caught up in it either. It's kind of like that saying, be in the world but not of it or with it. So
Yeah.
to find that balance. And so yeah, I'm just enjoying life with my family, and in Thailand, it's a great place to live and retire to. It's very easygoing here and low cost of living and great weather. So yeah, and just trying to be in the zone as much as possible.
There you go. Here you go. God bless, man. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Talking about staying in shape also brings us to one of our sponsors, philross.com. So we want to definitely check out philross.com for kettlebells, body weight, defensive tactics. We have a whole bunch of ways to keep your body and mind in shape here. And yeah. And also, we want to talk about nutrition too, right? So you want to go to Fit Team, and Fit Team is also available on the philross.com product site. And I just got a new sponsor too, the Under Project. So if you want to see me in an underwear commercial, maybe some of you don't, which is okay. I'm on the Under Project. So they're one of our sponsors too. But Tom, always a pleasure. We always keep up on Facebook and Messenger and stuff. So I definitely know that you are attuned to what's going on in the world around you, and we're both on the same side of independence. We're keeping ourselves healthy through natural means, and living that lifestyle. Well, Tom, again, a pleasure to have you on the Master Phil in Your Corner podcast. And any parting words?
But I just want to add one thing.
You might have to add it again.
Yeah, I just want to add, like you said, to be attuned and what's going on. Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
You hear me? Hello? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, of course you want to be attuned to what's going on around you, but most importantly, be attuned of what's going on inside of you, right? Your inner world and that part.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tom. All right.
Thank you guys for
great,
watching
Phil.
another round of Master Phil in Your Corner.
Strength and honor.